Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CNN's lead political anchor and the anchor of the Situation Room, Wolf Blitzer.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, Lois, on this terrific, terrific moment. I'm thrilled to be here. I've got nothing else to do because it's been such a slow news cycle lately. We get up in the morning, we're looking for a headline, looking for a story, and fortunately we found a few. I must say, I always begin a presentation by saying these words. I'm Wolf Blitzer, and you're in the Situation Room. And we have an amazing situation unfolding in this beautiful room here tonight. I'm so happy to be here with my fellow reporters, my fellow journalists, all the friends. A lot of lawyers are here tonight as well. They do an amazing job, I must say. It's especially good to be here with a lot of my colleagues from CNN. We are about to celebrate, and this is an important moment in journalistic history, CNN's 37th anniversary on June 1st. On June 1st, 1980, a guy by the name of Ted Turner said, you know what the world needs? Not just the United States, the world needs 24/7 cable news. And we've given it to them over these past 37 years. I've been blessed. I've been with CNN now for 27 of those 37 years, and it's a great moment. All of us who are journalists, we are truly blessed because we wake up every morning and we know we're going to have a front row seat to history. We're going to get paid to ask newsmakers tough questions. It is such a blessing that simply to step back and appreciate the moment we have. And when Ted Turner hired me, he always said, remember, the news comes first. We've been fortunate to have a lot of news, especially lately. Like all of you here, I'm a firm supporter of freedom of the press. I don't know about some of you, I'm not on the fence when it comes to the issue of freedom of the press. It's not one of those issues, I believe, where there are two sides. There's only one side in this issue. Freedom of the press is something we all so strongly cherish. I've been on the advisory committee of the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press now for several years. I'm so honored to support this wonderful organization. This is truly an amazing cause all of us are celebrating this evening. And as many have already pointed out, many more will be pointing out, we truly meet right now at an extraordinary moment in journalistic freedom. Our fellow reporters in so many countries around the world, they are under severe, severe assault simply for doing their job. But unfortunately, we find too much of that in our own country right now as well. We must fight this, and we must fight it very, very hard. That's why the work of the Reporters Committee is so very critical. And I think on behalf of all of us, let's give the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press a big round of applause. They gave me two assignments tonight. The first one to introduce my good friend Jeffrey Goldberg, who also is on the front lines in this wonderful struggle, and he's been on the front lines for a long time. He is truly a world-class journalist and a wonderful person. He's the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic and a recipient of the National Magazine Award for reporting. His articles on President Obama's foreign policies, as so many of you will remember, were truly amazing. His interviews with the then president were eye-opening. But having read those articles over these many years, especially going back and reading his articles, not only for The Atlantic, but in the New Yorker, where he worked for many years, I was not very surprised. I've come to expect only the very best from Jeffrey. He's here to pay tribute to Gwen Ifill, another truly wonderful journalist who unfortunately passed away last year. Gwen was a dear friend and an amazing person. I first got to know her well back in 1992 when we were in Little Rock, Arkansas, covering the election of the then governor, Bill Clinton. It was always such a pleasure to work with Gwen, especially when we were covering great political stories, especially when we were on the road covering those stories, the major news and Gwen Ifill were really special. I think I speak for all of us when I say she is so sorely missed, especially right now. I can only imagine what Gwen would be saying, what she'd be reporting if she were with us tonight. So let me bring Jeffrey Goldberg up to the stage. Let me call on Jeffrey to continue this special tribute to a wonderful journalist, an amazing woman, Gwen Ifill. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wolf. Good evening, everyone. Gwen Ifill was going to be one of our honorees tonight, and tragically this was not to be, but we didn't want to let this evening go by without remembering her. Gwen's death in November was a cruel blow to her family and to her friends, of course, but also to our profession at a moment when we could not afford to lose a person like Gwen. She was a singular figure of extraordinary prominence and extraordinary accomplishment. A while back, Gwen talked with her great friend Michelle Norris for the PBS series The History Makers. They talked about Gwen's love of politics and her role as an African-American woman on television, and about the women who came before her.
You know, when I was a little girl, there was a woman named Melba Tolliver who was on the news, and she had a big afro. And I just was transfixed by this idea. Didn't make me want to be in television as much as it made me want to tell the story. And every now and then, I am not particularly interested in, I just get caught up in whatever the day's work is, and invariably somebody will come up to me and tell me the story of their little girl. And it always stops me in my tracks. Because as long as I remember that there's someone on the other side of the piece of equipment, the camera, who's watching me with expectation, and it can shape what they do next, I have to take what I do seriously every single day.
I sometimes felt that Gwen underestimated the role she played in our society. I was with Gwen once at Howard University, where she was treated with adoration. I was with her at the Aspen Ideas Festival, which is a slightly different demographic, where she was treated with adoration. I fear doing an injustice to Gwen's legendary career by highlighting only one or two outstanding moments, but I think we learned about her exceptional role in American public life in 2004 during the vice presidential debate, which she moderated. At one point, she asked Dick Cheney and John Edwards for an outline of their plans to combat the then atrociously high rate of HIV infection among African American women. She caught both men completely short. Neither knew that this was even a problem. And this was Gwen at her world-changing best. She went out of her way to give a voice to the voiceless and bring a marginalized issue to a higher level of national consciousness. I met Gwen more than 30 years ago at the Washington Post. I was an intern, and Gwen was already Gwen. Her friendship was one of the blessings of my life. She was selfless. She was phenomenally interesting. She raised gossip to the level of Jane Austen quality social commentary. She was funny. She knew what was funny, and those of you who knew Gwen and heard her laugh knew that that laugh was a thing of wonder. Gwen would make you feel like a co-conspirator in a caper movie. We helped each other whenever we could, and in fact, we performed for each other the most valuable service two friends in journalism could perform. We tried to keep each other off Twitter, mainly unsuccessfully. In anticipation of this evening, I went back and looked at some of our old text and email exchanges. Here's a representative exchange from a random Tuesday a couple of years ago. Gwen, 7:48 a.m. Jeffrey, stop tweeting. Me, 2 minutes later, no, you stop tweeting. Gwen, 1 minute after that, no, you stop tweeting first. I'm hoping that this exchange is one day chiseled into a wall of the museum. We talked frequently about more serious things, of course. Gwen was an optimist, but her optimism was tempered by a hard-earned realism. She did not believe that the election of Barack Obama represented some sort of entrance of the country into a post-racial utopia. And long before others in our profession felt an ill wind blowing across this country, Gwen was acutely aware that the national discourse was coarsening and that the moral arc of the universe seemed to be bending in strange and disconcerting ways. Gwen and I would sometimes share with each other our hate mail. I would send her my anti-Semites, and she would send me her racists. She would actually write my anti-Semites, explaining why they were wrong, by the way. Once, taking note of the resurgence and the normalization of racist dog whistling, she wrote me, quote, "If I weren't a better person, I swear I would worry about our lovely nation." Gwen was a woman of great faith, faith in God, faith in her friends and family, her church, and of course her colleagues, and despite her worries, faith in the Constitution and in the self-correcting qualities of America itself. And she possessed perfect faith in the power of journalism to change the world for the better. She was never filled with anxiety or self-doubt about the indispensability of our profession and our mission. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, "Every violation of truth is not only a sort of suicide in the liar, but is a stab at the health of human society." If Gwen were here tonight, she would tell us with great confidence to redouble our efforts to tell the truth as we see it, to maintain our standards and maintain our composure, and to stare down those who seek to intimidate our fellow journalists. Gwen Ifill had perfect faith in journalism, and she had perfect faith that the final victory would belong to the truth. For this reason, and for many others, we miss her very, very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. That was a very nice tribute to somebody who certainly deserves it. And congratulations to the first two honorees. We'll be back with two more to honor after you've finished your meal. I just want to say it is terrific, as somebody who's been to many of these kinds of events, that it is wonderful to see this room so full and people all along both sides. My heart goes out to those who are behind the poles and can't see anything. I know your pain. I've had seats at Fenway that are behind the poles and you can't see a damn thing. And you're leaning over the fat guy in front of you who's trying to put down 6 hot dogs at once. But anyway, we do appreciate all of you being here, and we'll be back after dinner to continue the program.